Welcome to what video I'm going to call Oscar Talk with my friend Mike.
I hope you're excited.
Today we're going to talk about the Oscars. Hooray! So, first movie, which one do you want to talk about first?
Big Short, buddy. What did you think about The Big Short?
I thought overall it was a great movie. It's insane though that the banks were actually allowed to do what they did and get away with it for so long until someone's like, WTF, what is going on? This is all false. And just the fact that the banks were able to do that and that Steve Carell actually did a really great job. That role was like perfect for him.
The thing that I liked about that is it went on, and you were like, how the hell is this happening? But Christian Bale, his character in the movie Michael there, he actually was trying to bring that to attention of people, and they just blew him off. This crazy guy, nah, he was good one time, that's cool, but nah, he's wrong this time, even though he's got everything to back him up. Like, that's the part that blew my mind.
I also really liked how in The Big Short they would be like, oh, here's Scarlett Johansson in a bubble bath to explain this super complicated banking term. Like, I was just like, are they for real?
That was Margot Robbie. Margot Robbie in the bubble bath with champagne, my friend. No, but Big Short absolutely deserved to be on this list. Great movie, all around.
Alright, next on the list is Bridge of Spies. Well, Bridge of Spies is about a bunch of spies being traded on a bridge. Who would have thought? Other than the fact that the movie was good, I really don't have much to say. I did, in fact, really like the editing that they did, because they'd be talking about something, and then it would say, like, the word stand up, then they'd cut to people all standing in the classroom singing the national anthem, and they did so many things like that, and I absolutely loved the way they did the editing. And this movie's not even on the list of the picks for editing, and it should be, because the editing just, oh man, the editing.
I agree, and actually I never even thought about it that way either. The thing that gets me about Bridge of Spies is it is a great movie, but it reminds me of Lincoln, Spielberg's Lincoln that he did a few years ago there with Daniel Day-Lewis, Tommy Lee Jones. It was also a very good movie with amazing acting the whole way through, but like that's the expectation for Steven Spielberg. And if he's got Tom Hanks in there, he better meet that expectation. It did not surpass that expectation.
Alright, so the next movie, Brooklyn. Well, my thoughts on Brooklyn is that, well, it was a good movie. You could summarize the movie as saying the movie is about why you should not meddle in other people's lives. But other than that, I don't really have too much to say about the movie. It was a nice movie. Like it took you on a trip, but other than that, there's nothing that stands out.
Exactly. That's kind of how I feel about it too. I thought the movie was slow. I thought the like cast itself all around was very good.
I'll agree that it's slow, but it wasn't as slow. Like, when a movie is super slow for me, I'll be like, oh, when is this movie done? And check my watch that I'm not wearing and be like, when is this movie going to be done? But, like, this movie was slow, but it didn't have that. Now, Carol, on the other hand, holy smokes, that movie was a chore. So next up is Mad Max.
You go first.
Mad Max was an action-packed ride for the entire movie. You would leave the movie thinking that this could be the future because just the water is being so rare in California that it wouldn't be that far of a jump to say that in 20 years' time that the environment that Mad Max took place in is what California is going to end up as. And yeah, I really, really liked the movie. It was very enjoyable. I have nothing bad to say about this movie at all.
Mad Max is my favorite movie of 2015, at least theater movie anyway. There's one other one I'll touch on later that I really enjoyed too, but Mad Max by far is one of the best action movies I have seen in a very, very long time. Honestly, it's hard for me to think of putting it up against anything other than Terminator 2, which is my favorite action movie of all time. That movie, from start to finish, is a fucking phenomenon. It's crazy to think that 71-year-old George Miller, who basically did Happy Feet and Babe Pig in the City as his last couple of movies, came out with this. Like, he hasn't done Mad Max since the 80s, and I love Tom Hardy, and He is amazing as Max, but the movie was not about Max. You went into Mad Max thinking that this was going to be about Mad Max, but it was about Furiosa. It was about Emerson Joe, and it didn't stop. The world was never force-fed to you. It expanded itself as the movie went on, and it drew you in. You wanted to know more about the War Boys. You wanted to know about the dude on the truck playing the freaking guitar, if that wasn't one of the coolest things of the year.
That was so awesome.
But by the end of that movie, you still wanted more. I have not had that feeling with many other movies this year where I just want to know more of everybody's story in it. And some of the shots are just beautiful. Like at the very beginning where Furiosa is pulling away, the movie's just starting up, and you get a very big shot of what's going on. You've got people following her, the truck up in front, and they're shooting off their flares to call the other people. And just the pacing of the movie too is incredible. I'm so happy that it made it onto this list because it absolutely deserves to be on the best pictures.
Yeah, the editing was really good. And what was really interesting with the editing is that they didn't use an action editor to edit the movie. They used someone who has never edited an action movie together and has seen action movies, and she just edited the movie in the way that made the most sense, and holy smokes, it is amazing. None of this cut crap that every action movie has. The next movie is The Martian. The movie is about an astronaut who gets left behind on Mars and his struggle for survival. Overall, I liked the movie, and it was a fun movie ride, but other than that, I have nothing to say about it.
I'm with you. I thought it was good. I thought it was a very good movie, but this is the one movie that I'm kind of wondering why it's on this list. It didn't stay with me as much as many of the other ones on here did.
So now, moving on to The Revenant. I thought The Revenant was an okay movie. Like, it wasn't... I was just like, meh about The Revenant, because basically the movie is about a guy who ends up getting attacked by a bear, and it's a struggle for survival when he is basically left for dead, and his quest for revenge on the man that left him for dead. And that's basically all The Revenant kind of left me with, and to me it was just, kind of over the top.
I'm gonna cry here, man. This movie, it's based on a true story. Like, I'm sure that there's a little embellishment there with the story and whatnot, but I love Tom Hardy. I think I already said that about Mad Max. I love that dude. Like, let me have your babies right now, bud. I'm here for you. But I hated him within 10 minutes of this movie starting. I absolutely hated him. The cinematography on this movie is second to none. There are so many scenes in this movie that are either extremely long single shots or just framed so well that it's telling two or more stories at the same time in the same frame. It was so well done from top to bottom. Leonardo's son was great for what he was in there for. Leonardo, he always gets the Oscar nomination talk whenever there's a movie of his that comes out. And I was kind of thinking, oh, whatever, just another Leo movie, that they want to nominate him for. But when he lost his voice, changed my entire view on what was going on in that movie. He loses his voice and can only communicate through basically grunts. The way that he portrays that, the way that he survives this movie with that is so well done. And by the end of this movie, I felt for that guy. I absolutely did. I thought, this is it. This movie wins. This is my pick for the winner.
Visually, okay, yes, it looked nice, but the story is what was lacking for me. Like, the story wasn't like, if someone told me just the synopsis of this movie and was like, oh, it's about this guy who gets attacked by a bear in his quest for revenge, that's not a movie that I'm gonna go see. It's like, meh, I don't care that this guy was attacked by a bear.
I'll give it to you. I'm with you. It is a very already told, one-dimensional type of story about revenge. I just thought that it was, given to us in such a manner that exceeds that basic story. It does a lot more for what it actually is.
Alright, fair enough. Now, we are moving on to Room.
Oh, hey, let me go first on this. Let me go first because I know you love Room. I know you love Room. I loved Room too. I thought it was great. That kid, or the kids, sorry, who play the child in this, you're not gonna believe that it's like their first movie. They really brought it home. You felt for that kid. Seriously felt for that kid. And Brie Larson in that movie was incredible, dude. Like, the chemistry between the two of them makes that movie. They probably could have been put into like a freaking Pee Wee Herman movie, the two of them, replacing Pee Wee, and I would have had the feels pouring out of my eyes by the end of it. But the one thing that I really admire about The Room is that it was almost a backwards take on what you are used to in a movie. It felt like a horror movie at the beginning where they are trapped and oh they want to escape. But the meat of that movie is afterwards. And it's the dealing with that trauma that you never get to see in any other movie, which really made it stand out. This is something that I can't remember being done at least this well for a very long time, if ever. It was a really good story, but the story was told, and then you got to see the aftermath of it, which is something that we don't get to see.
Oh, you're gonna hate what I have to say.
Uh-oh.
All right. So, I really enjoyed Room. Out of all these movies, Room is one of my favorite. And it's a story about the two people, they're trapped in a room, and the difficulties of escaping. And I honestly really liked the movie, but then near the end of the movie, I felt like it lost its pace, it lost its momentum, and it just started kind of declining. Like if the movie, warning spoilers, if the movie would have ended at the part where Jack and I forget what her name was, when they were reunited inside that cop car after he had gotten the cops to go find where she was and she was saved from the room. If the movie would have ended just with that scene, with her being reunited with Jack, it would have been so perfect. The movie would have been so strong. If the movie ended right there and didn't deal with the aftermath, I think this movie, I would say, would win the Oscar for best picture. But because they went on and they tried to tell the story of the aftermath, I think that's where it fell short and kind of fell flat, because it was the entire movie has been about Jack, and now they're trying to switch it to be about Jack's mother and say, oh, this is what all the trauma of being locked into this room has now caused her to feel. And if they wanted to do that, they should have done the story a little bit differently in the beginning and not have it so much about Jack, because all of a sudden the movie's all switched.
See, my problem with that, and like, I'm just disagreeing with you. Obviously, I love you, or else I wouldn't be here right now. But, like, that whole first portion of the movie invests you into their characters. If it had have stopped right there, it would have been another Panic Room with Jodie Foster. And because I was invested with those characters, I wanted to know what happened afterwards, and watching them deal with getting back to everyday life and the changes that have happened since they've been locked up was almost like another story in itself, and it felt, to me at least, it didn't feel like it was just added on for extra. It felt like a cohesive story, but instead of just getting the one part, you get the whole story. You get to find out what happens with these people that you're invested in now.
Then what they could have done, in order to do it better, was make it that Jack was not real. That Jack was just a figment of her imagination, and it's her delusion that Jack is real, and now the story has focused on her entirely, and now she's going to deal with the reality of everything. That would have made that movie so much better, because now you're invested with Jack's mother rather than being invested with Jack the entire beginning of the movie. I think if they did it like that, holy crap, we'd have an amazing movie.
I want to see that movie now that you just said that. Like, I actually do. If Jack was a figment of her imagination and you watched the aftermath of everything, that's going to be a lot of therapy sessions is what I think it would be, but I would still watch.
Now, let's move on to Spotlight. Spotlight was a great movie. The events that happened in that movie, well, those weren't so great, but the fact that the movie was about the giant scandal with the Catholic Church in Boston and how one newspaper had its determination to dig and dig no matter what the obstacles or the facts were. They were going to dig and get to the bottom of what happened. I thought that was really great for a story. And the movie, just, I forgot I was watching a movie. It just took me to where they're telling the story, and I just accepted that. And I really thoroughly enjoyed watching that movie.
It felt more like a documentary than a movie. Like one of those, in your face, they got the cameras right there things. But like I said this about Brooklyn, about like the cast and whatnot, all interacting with each other very well. By far, Spotlight has the best ensemble cast of the year, like bar none. It was an amazing story, just like the Big Short. I like how relevant the story is to present time.
Those are basically all of the Best Picture movies. So you said your pick, if you could pick Best Picture, would be Revenant, correct?
Revenant by far, I think that movie has a lot to offer everybody. I think the acting is phenomenal, and man, the scenes that are set up in that movie, the cinematography is mind-blowingly good. There are things that are done in that movie which you may not see again in another one.
My pick for Best Movie would have to be Mad Max, but it would be The Room if they would have ended it at the cops car scene. But the reason why Mad Max is because out of all the movies on this list, the movies that remained with me and that are very easy for me to recall because they're still in my memory, even though I've seen them so long ago, is Mad Max, Room, and Spotlight. Those three movies are the ones that they remain in my head. They like resonate with me. But other than the rest of the movies, it's kind of I've seen it, I've moved on, I've kind of forgotten about the movie. But those three would be it. And Room, I would love to say that I would like that movie to win, but realistically, I don't think it will because of the second half of the movie. But Mad Max, I think it has the best of everything. I am very content with Mad Max.
I think I lied and you reminded me of that because if Mad Max wins, I'm not going to be disappointed. I will probably jump up and down. I don't think that the Academy members are going to give Mad Max the credit it deserves. And I just don't think so. I think it's going to win for the costumes. I think it's going to... You know what pisses me off, actually? It was never nominated for Best Original Score.
Now, which movie do you think will win by the biased Oscar people?
The Revenant, because Leonardo DiCaprio is getting his Oscar this year for The Revenant, and Alejandro, the director of it, he's going to be the guy who they're like, hey, let's give a Oscar to a Mexican. That's pretty much how it's going to play out.
It is kind of insane that Beasts of No Nation was basically shunned from the Oscars. And a lot of people watching this are going to be like, oh no, they shunned all of Netflix. That is not true. So in order for a movie to be considered for an Oscar, a movie has to be released in theaters. Well, Beasts of No Nation it actually was released in theaters. But because one of the things in the Oscar rules, which you can actually read on the Oscar website, is that it has to be released in theaters for however long, and it can be released on alternative media as well. So basically that means Netflix. So what Netflix did with Beasts of No Nation is they released it in theaters, and they were releasing it on Netflix at the exact same time, therefore making it eligible. But what happened was all the theaters are like, we're not going to play this movie because why would we do it when people can go watch it for $8 on your website? So a lot of the theater companies in America just boycotted the movie, and because of that, it had a very, very limited release in theaters. But it was actually released in theaters in the United States, so that it was actually on the list. And I think the main reason for why Beasts of No Nation was not actually on this list, it's because you have a bunch of old snobby people in charge of the Oscars. These people are traditionally in their tradition ways. Like, look at the movies that are in there. There's so many movies that have been picked that are all the old-timey movies. There's not very many relevant and current movies or futuristic movies. Yes, there's Mad Max, there's The Martian, and there's Star Wars. But other than those movies, what other futuristic movies are in the Oscar picks? And it's because these people like to get the feels about their times when they were growing up, and they like those movies that remind them of the good old days. And well, everybody at least has a racist grandparent, or at least knows someone that has a racist grandparent, and these are basically the people that are picking the Oscar movies. And it's like, do you expect that racist grandparent or that friend's racist grandparent to suddenly stop being racist one day? No, because it's not going to happen. It's the exact same thing with the Oscars. They're going to do certain things like have Chris Brown, or is it Chris Brown?
Chris Rock.
They have Chris Rock hosting, so they could be like, look, we're not racist. We have a black guy hosting. But they are racist. And the fact that that's news to people, it's like, we've all known this. This is all known. The only way the Oscars are going to change is the people that are currently the ones picking the movies need to die off, and their heirs need to come into power in the Oscar system, and those are the people that need to choose the movies, or something else of equal relevance of the Oscars and with as much weight as the Oscars needs to now become the Oscars. But that's not going to happen.
You got to hold up here because you're touching on two different subjects, and I need to weigh in on both of them here. Because Beasts of No Nation is the best freaking movie that isn't nominated. And when I said earlier that Mad Max is my movie of the year, but there is another one, it is Beasts of No Nation. That movie stuck with me by far. Actually, maybe my man Dan here will even link it to you, at least my page. But I do have a rant that I went on and did a YouTube video of after having a discussion with people at work about the whole Oscars so white thing. And Beasts of No Nation, it stayed with me. That movie is incredible, and yes, it got snubbed. It got snubbed the whole way through. It deserves a lot more recognition than what the Academy ended up giving it, which is 0. Now, Idris Elba in that movie is amazing. Should have got a Best Supporting Actor nomination by far. The kid in that movie probably should have got a Best Actor nomination by far. Cary Fukunaga probably should have got a Best Director movie because that shot of them walking across the bridge is the scene that sticks out for me after 2015. That trumps Mad Max's front drop on the truck. That part stuck with me forever, and it was trumped out by that bridge walk. And exactly what you said, it's because Netflix is not part of the establishment. It is the new generation making their move that the older people, who definitely do have tendencies in the Academy, decide to, just ignore it. And that's something that they shouldn't have done. That movie absolutely deserves some recognition.
It should have at least been nominated for something.
But what pisses me off is we talked about 7 movies today, and there are 10 spots for nominations. And Beast of No Nation could have filled one of those up easily, and honestly, with all the talk about like transgender stuff, they should have probably put the Danish Girl in there too.
But now that we've added Beasts of No Nation, which one do you want to win?
Oh man, honestly, like Beasts of No Nation, if it was on there, I would want that to win with The Revenant second. Spotlight is freaking amazing, so I would put that third. But if Mad Max won, there's no way I could be mad at anyone.
I'd still put Mad Max ahead of Beasts, but Beasts would be second, and Room if they fix the ending. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for being on. And thank you to everyone that has been watching this. I don't actually know how long this is going to be. And in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts are on the Oscar picks and if you agree or disagree with us. Thanks to Mike for helping me out with this. I will link to his YouTube channel below. And yeah, that pretty much sums up this video. Thank you for watching. I will see you next week. Don't forget to have an epically awesome day. Bye!